Welcome back, everybody, to the Autism Exchange podcast, where we want to communicate and collaborate. This podcast is designed for parents and professionals and many more. We want to host real talk that is really relatable through great conversation. So, welcome back. And Janice, I've waited a long time to say welcome back because you and I have put an awful lot into getting this bad boy rolling. And now that we can say
100%.
welcome back instead of welcome to,
I know. I love it. This has been such a great. I love that we can say welcome back because now that means that we have lots of like memories and storage that we can sort of like draw from and I just think I'm having a great time. This has been fantastic.
and there have already been several inside jokes that have made their way into the episode. But
And
you know,
maybe some of them could stay inside, but I have a feeling they're about not to be.
no, I don't have any plans today to throw any darts at you.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's just for today. You never know what tomorrow brings.
Well,
Uh,
that's just for the next like 30 seconds. That could change on a dime, so I'm not
you
holding you to that.
know good and well I never do it on purpose. It just kind of the way I am. But how are you? What's new with you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very good. What's new? I had dog responsibility this morning. I got to say hi to the neighbors when I went out for a walk and had a couple of meetings. And but I've been looking forward all morning to seeing you.
I can't let it go. I can't let it go. You have to tell this. How did you say hello to your neighbors this morning, Janice?
And so dart number one, what was that? 45 seconds? I don't
Hey,
know,
look,
maybe. So I took my daughter out I walked her out to her car this morning on her way to school, and she's going on a backpacking trip. So she had this huge backpacking trip that she's going to have to like pack in and pack out for 40 miles over 5 days in the mountains. And I wish her well. This is not going to be a mom and me trip, to be clear. And so she opened up the trunk and she had her golf clubs in there. Now, I want to be clear, this was at a very early hour this morning, so I didn't expect anybody to be out. So I'm not saying I have bunny slippers, but if that's what you're conjuring in your mind, you wouldn't be far off. So I was out there in my jammies, in my bunny slippers, holding her golf clubs, and as I was turning around to go and head to the garage, I see my neighbor and her three children and their car pulling out of the driveway, rolling down their windows to say good morning to me. So there's a lot of like humbling things going on, like all before 8 o'clock a.m. But they're lovely, and their little daughter is just adorable. I mean, like truly adorable, and she is just the great thing about little kids is they just say whatever is on their mind and it comes out in the most innocent and curious way. And so I get a kick out of whenever I see her and just like wonder like what's going to be the topic du jour.
yeah, yeah. You never know. And out of the mouths of babes, they say, but that goes for better or for worse because they have no filter
Yes.
whatsoever. So they can be quite humbling too here
Yes.
in the office included. I can't
Well,
in my mind I can't help but picture some sort of like Christmas vacation, Uncle Eddie
yeah.
vibe to you being out there waving at your neighbors in your bunny slippers this morning. I just wish you had like the hat that Uncle Eddie wears. Uh,
No, but thanks for adding to that image. I'm sure that's
I
gonna.
can I can continue if you'd like. Well, I'm glad you're doing well as usual. I think you and I both find ourselves in some pretty comical situations.
We do. How was your morning gone?
Yeah, the morning's been great. Yeah, been relatively steady. I'm actually in the clinic today, so we're working, seeing kiddos, and it's been relatively steady.
Good.
Um, and yeah, I've been really excited about this. Kind of watching my watch, like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? So that
Yeah,
should
this
tell
is
you
good.
how much fun this really is. Hey, I have a question for you, Janice. It's a very
Mm.
deep question. I hope it's not too personal. So if it is, please feel free to just say Michael, not now, and
They're
we'll
a
just
size 7, and I think I got them on Amazon. Is that right?
Tou- touche. That was great.
Okay, go ahead.
That was impressive. I like that. I don't think a 7 will fit me though. Send me the link. That's good. That was
I'll
good.
send a link in the notes.
Okay, there you go. No, serious question though. Okay,
Yes.
do you like pickles?
I do. I do. Like, not frequently, but when one shows up on my plate, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So I was listening to the radio. I'm an AM radio nerd. I love it. I
Hmm.
don't like all the political stuff, but I do love sports and general news and that sort of thing. So I'm listening to the 6:30 WLAP this morning on AM radio, and it said, you know how everybody's ordering DoorDash now and all these food deliveries and Postmates and all the things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they said somebody ordered from McDonald's. They went to DoorDash, got to McDonald's, ordered a double cheeseburger, hold the bun, hold the meat, hold the ketchup, hold the mustard, hold the onions, hold the lettuce. They wanted extra pickles.
Extra pickles.
And so they paid, and DoorDash is expensive too because it
Yeah.
adds fees on top of your normal whatever. And so they got one of those little cardboard box burger holder things
Yeah.
full of pickles.
Fill
That was full of pickles. And so the joke the joke was, first of all, that's really not that big a deal. And then the other was they should just call that a McPickle. And I think, how could you not call it a McPickle?
Is this a real story?
No, I swear it's true. Heard it on the
Are you
radio this
sure?
morning. Yeah, I made a mental note to make sure that I brought this up with you today. And I have another one too from the same show.
Okay, but let me just like ask you, did you do the big deal or did they do the big deal?
Oh, I did not do the big deal. No, that
Oh, okay. Because like
but
that's pretty funny. Like that was a good gotcha. I like that big deal. So okay.
I do have to put some proof in the pudding though. Sorry,
Yeah.
Kara. I'm asking Kara to, well, we've not even introduced her. There's a person in my office. You guys that are listening can't see this unless, oh, the video thing. This cup says I'm kind of a big deal.
I love it. Oh,
And it
you know
has
what? This is my cup. It says, I am silently checking your grammar.
a See? We should swap cups because I'm guilty of both of those things. I like
That's
that. If I can figure out how to turn this camera weird thing off, I will and show you this cup. But yeah, second thing,
yeah.
you have a cat.
I do not have a dog.
You have a dog. Okay, I don't have a cat either. Very allergic.
Okay.
Um, what about hair ties? Do you use hair ties?
No. I
Well, I mean,
used to.
yeah,
I
you
used
have like
to.
they're
Yeah.
around, and I'm sure Caroline does, and
Yeah.
they're around, right? So I also heard on the same show that this person had a cat that was like really struggling gastrointestinally. And so they
Mm-hmm.
weren't real sure what was going on. And at the same time, this lady that owned the cat was super stressed because she's like, why am I buying so many hair ties? It's unbelievable. Her cat was eating them. Her cat had 23 hair ties in its gut, and they had to go do emergency surgery to pull all these hair ties out of
Oh
the
my God.
but the conversation was, at what point are you not like, oh, my cat's playing with a hair tie. Why am I buying 7,000 hair ties a day? Like, it's not like you can't see them, you know?
I'm trying to like I can't there's something there. There's like a joke or a pun there about a cat, hair ties, and fur ball. Like I'm not connecting the dots enough, but there's gotta be something there.
Well, you have to be careful that you're not too catty about the whole thing.
That's true.
I'm a dad. Okay, that's enough. I it completely hijacked a radio show to bring that up, but those are two things that just really stood out to me, and I wanted to ask you about them.
No, no, I'm glad that you did, and next time I'm gonna look for a little material and I'm gonna spring it on you and see what happens. We're gonna
Can't
put your
wait.
dad jokes to use.
Can't wait. Actually, someone else gifted me a thing that says dad joke extraordinaire or something like that. So
Nice.
you learn a lot about yourself based on the gifts people give you. It's like what we said about children, out of the mouths of babes. When you get gifts that say
Right.
like dad joke extraordinaire, then All right. Well, again, welcome back to the Autism Exchange podcast. We did have a great response to the first three episodes, Janice.
Mhm.
We're so humbled by that.
It was
It's
amazing.
it really is amazing, and the feedback we've gotten, and not just in terms of number of people listening and subscribing. Obviously that tells us where we are and how we're doing, but our motivation is not to become ultra famous. Our goal here, and I'm speaking for both of us, is to really just reach more people with this type of atmosphere that is so beneficial
Yeah,
to everybody, right?
I agree. I agree. I was just listening to the sort of recap episode that we did. I think that was episode number three, maybe three or four,
Yeah, it was great.
and it was just it just sort of reaffirmed, especially just thinking about this podcast now, listening to that one just a few hours ago. It just reaffirmed like, yep, this is what we're doing. It's not like we set these lofty goals and then sort of drifted, throughout the episodes. We've actually, I think, set those and continue to strive to reach those. And I was just, I was really pleased. I thought that was great. I'm so excited to do this.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge affirmation that we're not trying to force outcomes,
Right.
in doing any of this that we're doing, both between us and with the guests that we have on. It's just natural conversation, and these priceless things come out. And you and I knew that was going to happen. All right.
Yes.
We had things to reference for that, but to see it actually come to fruition has been a super fun thing. So, anyway, the big, humongous thank you to everybody who's joined us so far, and we're just looking forward to growing with you. Speaking of guests, I think you have somebody you might want to introduce.
I do, I do. This is another fantastic guest, I gotta say, and with a lot to share and a lot for us to learn from. Her name is Kara Burton. She studied at Eastern Kentucky University. She is a doctor of occupational therapy, and right now she is a pediatric occupational therapist working at Total Pediatrics, meaning that, Michael, she is one of your most revered colleagues.
This is true, and we will get into this momentarily, but we have to ask each other a lot of very, very strange questions in this facility. Dr. Kara Burton, thanks so much for being with us.
Hi, Kara, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are thrilled that you are here. Truly, thank you so much for making time today.
Of course, this is always going to be fun with you two, I feel.
Well, we like to have a good time
Yes.
at our own expense sometimes. Kara, what is really important to us is that we have these conversations on an equal level, on the same playing field, because there's so many educational podcasts or different shows or YouTube videos that are like, let me tell you what to do. Let me ask you about this strategic approach to therapy. And that's just not who we are at the Autism Exchange. Quite literally, we want to just open this up and get to know you as a person, but then naturally, like Janice was just talking about a minute or two ago, we're going to arrive at these really nice conclusions that are going to be huge bits of knowledge for all of us. So Kara, first of all, and most importantly, who are you?
I am a recent grad, so I'm still finding myself and my feet within this field and within life, honestly. But I am a very avid traveler. I love to travel, especially very like sporadic traveling. Actually,
Ooh.
I was just looking up a weekend trip to Iceland. Don't know if that one's going to happen, but that would be fun.
Did you say weekend trip to Iceland?
Yes. Okay, listen. Leave Friday, get back Sunday, Monday morning. Um, but you get there in the morning, you would have like 2 or 3 days of full travel, get back on the plane, get home for work the next day. To
Why am
me,
I not doing this?
cool.
This is amazing.
Right? There's so much to explore. I'm still young. I have that energy right now, kind of, not really. But I can get up, I can bounce back. And I'm like, I'm young. I don't have many responsibilities. Let me travel and explore while I can. So I'm very big on spontaneous travel. Um,
So,
I also love reading and hiking and just going out and just seeing new things and learning new things. Um, I'm also trying to learn how to bake. Really bad at bread.
No, you're not.
Okay,
bread's tough. Bread's tough.
better. But we're working on it. I feel like this is a fun hobby to keep me off my phone because I'm very addicted to scrolling on my phone, and I will admit that. So I'm trying to find new hobbies, and I like to just research and learn and be around people and do things, but also have my own personal time to like mentally recoup as well.
For sure.
Outstanding. Okay, first of all, I need you to send me your itinerary so that I can start making travel plans of my own. Start from a few years back and then a couple years going forward so that I know what I should be looking to. But Kara, that sounds amazing. You sound very busy but balanced. That's so cool.
We talked about Janice. Was it? Yeah, it was on episode 3 when we were kind of doing the unwind thing, the recap thing.
Mm,
We talked about Boston, and I
yeah.
made the comment. I'm like, yeah, back when I was younger, before we had kids, we could hop in a car and do a weekend trip to Boston, 13-hour drive. And now,
Hmm.
And I'm thinking like, man, that'd be impossible, right? And here's Kara, like, I might go to Iceland for the weekend. To Iceland, Boston is hard. It just, I don't know. That just hit me in the face. Like, man, you're getting old.
Yeah. I think our frames of reference are a little like the generationally. I don't know how old both of you are, but I feel like I might be a little bit older, and just generationally, that didn't seem like a like oh, let me just hop, skip, and jump to Iceland. It was, um, it just didn't seem like the option that maybe it is today. Anywho, never mind. Kara, I'm thrilled that you're here, and that's awesome. And I'm glad that you're baking too. Especially as a way to sort of unplug a little bit. You said baking bread, but are you also talking about like other baked goods, or is it just like a bread sourdough situation?
So I don't have the attention span I feel to do the sourdough end, but I like bread, rolls, cinnamon rolls, pastries, cakes, all the things. But I'm a very picky eater, so honestly, half the things I make, I don't even eat. It's just the action of making it that is fun to me.
Yes, I'm the same way. So my neighbors get a lot of said bunny slipper neighbors as well. I guess they're going to be
Okay,
getting a tray
thank
of
you
cookies
because
this afternoon.
I was throwing a dart if you
Yeah,
did.
yeah. They might be getting some baked goods later on today. But yeah, I love baking stuff, but we don't always eat everything. So it's kind of like I bake it, we get a taste of it, and then just pass it along in the neighborhood, which is kind of fun.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, is there count on me to make something deeper than it should be? But is there a part of you that does this like in service to other people, sort of not like feeding a shelter, but like you do this and you're like, okay, I really want to take care of my loved ones and my friends, or is it genuinely just the process of making the thing, Kara?
I feel like it could be both because there is sometimes when I go and see my friends that I don't get to see often, and I'm like, ooh, they would love this. Let me make that for them, like coffee
Mhm.
syrups or like bread or rolls and stuff. So I feel like it definitely could be both for sure.
Interesting. See, thankfully I'm not seen behind this microphone because if I bake it and it's in front of me, I'm eating it. I might share it with you, but I'm eating it.
Can I just say something? So, Kara, it sounds like what you're doing is very altruistic, and I just love hearing examples of people that are so generous. What I think I should tell you in full disclosure, and Michael, I have a feeling that you're gonna just bring this up many, many, many times in the future, is that where I live, right around the corner is a church. And so to the left around the corner is a church. To the right around the corner is the priest who is the priest of that church. And the priest is really lovely and he loves my dog. And so I often give him baked goods because I feel like maybe we could get a little blessing when he walks past the house on his way to church. Because he has to pass our house on his commute and he usually walks. So I'm like, and that's kind of plenty of time to just do a little.
That's a really nice marker for like where you are in life. You know what I mean? Like if the priest walks on your side of the street, you're like, okay, I'm doing pretty well. But then when you look out the window and he's like crossing to walk on the other side of the street and then come back over, you're like, oh man, I got to get right. Something's not
That's
going.
right.
You know
Oh
what?
my
It's
gosh. I could use that as like a karma barometer or something.
yeah, no, exactly. That's my point. Yeah, you see where you stand, in the world.
Like literally where oh my God. Okay. Well, thanks. That gives me something else to worry about now. That's great.
Don't worry about. See, I see it as a positive. Um, Kara,
Okay. But I mean, yes. Kara, go ahead. Michael, take it away.
no, you're good. Kara, we again. I mean, I think Janice likes to hike. I like to eat. You like to bake. I know Janice likes to bake. There's a lot of similarities there. One of the things that you have probably heard in prior episodes is this concept of my home, my country. And I do want Janice to explain that to you. And full disclosure, this is kind of the one heads up that we give to anybody who joins us on this podcast is the think about what my home, my country means or looks like for you. So we gave Kara that. I've always unapologetically explained how crazy my home and country is, and I'm daggone proud of that, and it's not going to change. But Janice, explain to listeners what my home, my country is in case they've missed it, and then let's hear what Kara has to say.
Yeah, for sure. So many years ago, I visited someone's house, and I was just sort of noticing, how they lived their lives. Like, they drank out of mason jars. You took your shoes off. They, had a very, their house was a bit sort of like rustic, with a lot of like architectural salvage stuff, which is so cool. They finished their own furniture, like stripped it down and finished it. So they had a lot of really interesting pieces of furniture. Anywho, after that, I was talking to my friend. I said, what's so cool is you walk into their house and it kind of feels like that's their country. Their home is their country. You sort of get a chance to know and learn a little bit about sort of who they are based on how they sort of like have things in their home and their values and their rituals. And so over the years, I've always thought about my home, my country is like, what is it that I do and how I have my house that is and have my home that is my country? What things do we do for the holidays? How do I have things in my house? Are there any rules or rituals or things that we say? And so, Michael and I have been talking about that as it relates to, just someone's home and maybe as it relates to their work or their family or just, their personal values. So we want to ask you, when people would come to your house, what do they notice about your home and your country?
I think one of the biggest things is it's very rarely that all of my family is in our house at one singular time. Our family and our parents specifically have always been big on like sports, other activities, go out, do stuff, be active. And so a lot of times over half of the year, you're never going to catch all four of us within our home at one time because we're constantly moving or like we'll pass each other in the hallway or at the door. But on the days that we are home, I will say I just said earlier that I am a picky eater. My stepdad also is too. So we have a good solid like 10 meals on rotation. So if you come to eat dinner with us, it's probably going to be one of these 10 meals. And if it's not one of the 10 meals, it's a fend for yourself kind of night, which is something that we love. We call it a fend for yourself kind of night. And
like
everybody makes their own food and eats what they want to eat. Well, that's a big one of our family. Another one about kind of me and my sister is we stand a lot when we eat. We have a kitchen table. We love family time whenever we get it, sitting down, eating together. But me and my sister often are in the kitchen standing while we eat. And I've done that my entire life. Don't know why. I'd rather stand and eat than sit and eat. So that's a big one as well.
So if Janice and I show up to your house, we should make sure that we have like good supportive tennis shoes and
yeah. Now listen, my parents will be sitting. You can sit with them, but most of the time, me and my sister are up talking and standing.
Got it
For sure.
You got to be ready to leave in a moment for that spontaneous travel. You got to be like, all right, I'm out of here. I got.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Yeah.
And I am very much the let me up and go. We're like plan A of the family, which is crazy since I love to spontaneous travel. But me and my mom, plan A will boss everybody in the house around, and then they're just like, okay, like it's very interesting.
So I have often said, Janice, when you were introducing Kara, she and I work together, and it's a blast, both professionally, clinically, but also on a personal level. Because I have often said that Kara is like the one person. How many people work here? Do you think like 16, something like that? Kara's the one person that is like ride or die. You could say to her, let's go jump off the Empire State Building. She'd be like, okay. And then maybe she would ask, like, where do we get a parachute? Like she's going to say yes first and then figure out the rest later. Kara is very much a ride or die. Is there anything else you want to touch about your home and your country? And if not, that's totally fine.
Not that I can think of right now. I will say game night, if you ever come over for a game night, our family is very competitive. So get ready for lots of trash talk, and that's at home, that's in public, that's anywhere we go. We are very competitive and love to win. So it's always a good time.
Yeah, I
Sounds like
can
a great time.
also attest to that here because occasionally we do play some games and lunch breaks and stuff like that in the office, and it can get a little. I mean, people have bled before. No kidding. Haven't they? They really have.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. So speaking of the clinic, I want to transition a little bit. You know, we are the Autism Exchange podcast, but we also don't want to box ourselves in necessarily just to autism because of so many similarities in terms of loving somebody with these issues between autism and other developmental disabilities. So you'll hear us talk about, well, matter of fact, Dr. Grubbs in our second interview, she has a son with Down syndrome, and some of the things that she brought up were super relevant to me as a parent of a child with autism. And so we don't ever want to completely box ourselves in, but for the purpose of this conversation, Kara, I just want to start by with a general question. In your practice, what are the positives that you've seen about children with autism? Like, what things do they bring to the table, or to the environment, or to the the world that are beautiful things?
I feel like one of the biggest things I've learned from them is they are so unapologetically them. I feel like me and Michael have talked about this before. They are very strong-willed. They're going to do kind of what they want to do, and they're going to find a way to make it work. Like if they want something to work, they're going to make it work. And I feel like they are not going to quit, and they have such strong resilience, but then they're also very them. They don't care if anybody is staring at them or are joining in with them. They're going to have fun and kind of do whatever they want to do. And I feel like I'm learning a lot from them also, like celebrating the small wins. We don't have to have this big, huge, like, celebration. We ran a full marathon, but hey, we made eye contact. That's wonderful. Hey, we laughed. That's awesome. Like, we're playing with the toy in a functional way. That's amazing. Like, learning to celebrate the small wins as well, I feel like is so powerful. And even putting that in my personal life, like learning to celebrate the small things in my life too, is one of the biggest things I've learned from them.
Kara, that is like so key, I think, is that, and something that's important, I think, for parents to think about too, that, especially if they have more than one kid, that you think of the milestones that a neurotypical child would do and or achieve, or just naturally sort of go through, and it's like, hey, that's great, that's wonderful. And then when you have a kid on the spectrum, those milestones are a challenge rather than just a rite of passage. And I think it's part of my part of my job that I love the most is to sort of say, hey, wait a second here, let's not overlook that. Let's make sure that we celebrate that for the hard work that it took to get to that point, and not overlook it because it's not something that other people would celebrate with other kids, but just taking that time to sort of notice it and celebrate it for the hard work that went into it. And so I love that you say that that's part of what you do and that you celebrate that, because I just think that's not just a tick in a box. That's actually worthy of celebration, and pointing out to people how to notice those things and don't overlook it.
I agree. Another thing that I want to touch on that Kara said first was being unapologetically themselves. And I have many people have asked me how I feel about what I love about PJ, my own son with autism, and one of the first things that comes out of my mouth is always that he is himself. Like PJ does not care. He has these funny little stems. I can't really do it, but if you can imagine doing like a windmill with your arm vertically instead of over your head, Kirsten and I kind of joke about it. It was like, wind it up, like wind it up. He does those things, and he really could not care less where he does it, who's watching, who's judging. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, he's doing what PJ does. And I all of that to say, when that comes up, I always say I think the world could handle a little bigger dose of that, because we're so often, our culture is like, oh no, who's looking at me? Who's judging me? Am I not allowed to know the answer to that? What if I raise my hand and I'm wrong? No, I think we all need a little bit of that you don't like it, screw you. Like, it's just, I am who I am, accept me or not. So I love that. Kara, let's go a little bit further. I know that, and again, we want to steer clear of kind of the canned, prepared interview questions, right? So just to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit for you, what are some challenges that you've seen as a provider when it comes to helping families with autism? And that could mean either working with a child one-on-one, or also just working and communicating with that family and or learning about their home and country, maybe in an evaluation.
Um, there's a lot. I'm going to be honest. When I came into pediatric OT, I was terrified. I didn't think I knew enough. I didn't think I knew anything. And I feel like that's every new grad kind of coming into a field, trying to learn, trying to gain information and stuff. But some of the biggest challenges I've faced is trying to figure out how to help the family the best. Because in my brain, I'm like, okay, let's do X, Y, and Z. Why let's try this. Why is it not working? But I've really had to take a step back and kind of say, okay, how does this fit into their life? What is their priorities? What is their goals? Because to me, it could be completely different than what they are wanting or how it fits into their life. And so trying to even figure out what's in my brain, because things instantly pop up. I'm like, okay, this, and this can all help this, but it may not be practical in their daily life for the families. And so
Mhm.
trying to maneuver and change all these different ideas I have to make it more applicable to the kids. But also, in another aspect, Michael can attest, I ask lots of questions, lots of trying to figure things
Yeah,
out.
which we love.
It's a lot, but one of my biggest things I've really struggled with is a lot of my eating kids, but not in the way of like, oh, they're not eating this. I have a lot of kids that like to eat inedible objects, and I'm trying to like learn the best way to redirect and the best way to help them go from let's eat this inedible object to eating something that is safer for us, but it still provides that sensory input that they may be looking for, whether it's the taste of it, the crunch of it, the feeling of it, or kind of figuring out that fine line of how can we redirect in a lot safer of an avenue. And I think that's one of my biggest challenges right now too, is trying to figure out the safest route to redirect a lot of behaviors.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Michael, go ahead.
No, I was going to, and I'll make up what we're eating. Okay. Let's say cardboard, because I certainly don't want to identify anybody or whatever. But Kara sends me a text, and back to asking questions. Kara, this is something Janice and I have harped on and harped on and harped on. If you're not asking questions, one, you're a bad provider, frankly, and two, you're probably a bad person, because you have to, I mean, I say that tongue in cheek, but like, you have to understand who you're talking to and respect where they're coming from. And I would say, as an occupational therapist, you're right. You might have all these ideas about what's the best way to help this child with autism or this family navigate their behaviors or whatever. But if you're not really listening to what their perceived problem is, then you're offering them a bunch of solutions they didn't ask for. So
Mhm.
that's why we go into evaluations in this clinic and we say, hey, why are you here? What's up?
Mhm.
And start listening.
I
So
love
here's
that. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. I think that's so perfectly open ended and specific at the same time. And it's so frank that there's no pretense to asking that question and no pretense to answering that question. And I just, I love it. I think it's such a great question to start with, and then of course you can just keep going and going and going, and then through that process you get on the same page. Like you get to know one another, you get on the same page, and then you're really working and rowing the boat in the same direction, in the same boat. So anyway, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. So Kara, asking great questions. She often does this, and if I'm not accessible, like in the office at that moment, then she'll send me a text so that it'll remind both of us to talk about it later. So last Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning, again, I'm going to substitute. It says, "Quote: Eating cardboard? Question mark. Any suggestions? Question mark." I responded 1 minute later, and I said, "Yes, don't eat cardboard." And I got one emoji back from her, and then she didn't bother to rip me a new one like she should have. But no, then we go back for paragraphs and paragraphs. I will say, Kara, and this is relevant to autism intervention too. When I say intervention, I mean serving that family to help what their issues are as a family unit, right? We never want to say an intervention or a quote unquote treatment modality is to fix something wrong necessarily with the person, but it's to help them problem solve with tricks that we may have had all along. All of that to say, Kara has inherited, for some reason, some really, really quirky things that I think a lot of listeners who have loved ones with autism might resonate with. Um, what do you think, Kara? Anything stand out to you besides eating
Yeah.
cardboard?
Um, yeah, I am learning a lot from my first caseload. I have some kids that go to extreme lengths to self-harm as a way to regulate themselves, and that's something that we're working on, whether it be hair pulling, pinching, scratching, biting self, like
Mm-hmm.
extreme lengths. Again, I've got quite a few kids that either for sensory purposes or pica reasons or any other reasons we're eating these inedible items as well. So I feel like I see a good range of individuals who experience a variety of behaviors for sure. Michael, can you think of any that I'm
Yeah.
missing?
I think and this, this is not a joke whatsoever, but fecal smearing, and
Mm-hmm.
even consumption, unfortunately, is a reality for a lot of people. And those are things that come in, and the reason I bring that up and the reason I asked you that question, Kara, is because I want listeners on the other side who aren't therapists, who are thinking, "I wonder what that's going through my therapist's mind when I go into that
Mm-hmm.
facility." Trust me when I tell you that when we talk about this, we are talking about this to try to problem solve for you. Kara, I'm what,
Mm-hmm.
13 years going on 14 years into this, and I don't have an answer for that. And sometimes that means, branching out to other disciplines and, people, Janice, I have this kid doing this. Do you have any suggestions? But at its core, we're still asking for help, and there's nothing wrong with being humble and having humility and saying to a family, "Tell you what, I've not encountered this before, but instead of just cutting you off and saying go figure it out, I'm going to hold your hand until we get to the solution, and I'll help you to connect the dots."
Yeah, yeah. I can say that as a behavior analyst, and having encountered that a few times in my career, not very often, but a few times in my career, you are the kind of person that I would be looking for, because I think that that behavior in particular is really challenging, and I don't think that it's something that only can be addressed with one modality or one sort of like professional perspective. I do think that there's so much that's involved in that behavior, because it's not just a behavior, right? There's a whole lot that goes into it.
Mhm.
And I think a good behavior analyst will ask a lot of questions, but I think putting the brains of an occupational therapist together with the behavior analyst, with the parents, I think there's a much better shot of being able to find some success. So I think asking those questions, like you were just saying, Michael, is helping to lead rather than say good luck with all that. It's helping to sort of like get to the problem solution together.
Yeah. And there's no shame. Again, I am a parent of a child with autism who does things that society does not like. And I don't like when PJ hits his head on the floor when he's angry. I don't like it at all. I wish it would stop. But it also happens, and it's real, and it's part of my life. So don't be ashamed as a parent or loved one of a person with autism or any other developmental disability. Don't be ashamed to come in and say, "Look, I know this is quote unquote weird, but I need some help, and this is what's going on." Because I promise you, you find the right therapist or the right support person or the right friend, they're in it not to judge, they're in it to help you get to a happy place. So Kara, one more question for me. Janice might have more, but there's just so many things popped into my head that I want you to share with listeners. Um, and that is, when you're working with children with autism, how do you balance maybe the developmental norms, if you will, like what the CDC says you should be doing by this age? How do you balance that with maybe that's not necessarily relevant to them because the family says, my home and country, it's not so important that we're walking at this many months of age as long as we're walking in the long run. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So, like, how do you approach that situation where you're balancing science with like someone's home and country?
So I feel like as therapists, one of our biggest things is taking what the family wants and helping the family achieve those goals that they want, but also kind of using evidence based as well. I feel like that's also something that I kind of also struggle with. For me, is kind of figuring out developmentally where we're supposed to be, but I want it to feel like the parents are being heard. We're working towards the parents' goal. So if I can throw in like some scissor skills or writing, but we're focusing on the desires of the families and the goals of the families while we're doing it. I love meshing both together and showing like the parents like, hey, we're working towards this goal. I don't want you to ever feel like your goals ever being ignored because that's our top priority. I want a parent to be able to come to us and be like, this is my concern, this is what I want my kid to be able to do, and this is our goal, and I want them to feel comfortable bringing those to us, and in us being able to say, okay, let's work towards it no matter what we have to do. It's very trial and error, let's do it. But working towards those goals, but incorporating maybe some other things into it, because even the smaller things can lead to a big impact as well. And I feel like small things like pencil writing can impact like fine motor skills of getting dressed in the morning. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
everything meshes together too. So I feel like finding that balance of how to kind of mesh things together, but always have the families feel like they're being understood, they're being listened to, and we're going towards what their desires are as well. Because it is their kids, it's their life. We are being welcome into their life to help their kid. We're not we don't want to interrupt. We want to all be a good unit to work towards this to help the child and not say, you're doing X, Y, and Z, let me do this instead. It's always working together.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Kara Burton works in this facility because that
Yes,
is exactly who we want in here.
absolutely. Kara, I that was amazing and that was beautiful, and that's something that I think sets some clinicians apart from other clinicians, is just being that passionate about working with the family and prioritizing what they want, and what's important to them is oftentimes not on a chart or a graph or an assessment. And can I just tell you one little story, and then I have a couple of questions for Kara too. And Kara, wow, did you like how I just ran right in there? I didn't even wait for you to say yes. Sorry about that.
No, I love
I
it.
should have asked for permission there, but I didn't. I guess I'll ask for forgiveness afterwards. When I'll just tell you a small story. So when I was starting out as a young clinician, I was working with a family, and the mom was just really, really struggling with the diagnosis for her child. And you know how sometimes kids with autism, really don't like touch, and they don't like to be close, and they don't like hugs, and they're just, that's aversive to them. And this mom was really struggling with that because, her son was nonverbal, and she just wanted to love him. She just wanted to have a hug once a day, anything. And of course, I had a whole list of things that we needed to work on, and these are priorities, developmentally appropriate. And I sort of put all those aside and said, we're going to work on hugging, and we're going to work on having like a desensitization program, if you will, to help this child be more comfortable, to allow an embrace from his mom. And once we did that, and it wasn't like, a 5 minute long, love fest. But it was enough that the mom was had a connection to her child, and then also had a connection with us because we heard her and we saw what was important to her. Then we had a relationship going forward that she was able to say, yep, I'm on board because I can see what you can do. I can see that you're listening to me. We're now Kara, is what you said, a unit, and I that is like the primary thing. I think it's called pairing a little bit, but I think that that's a little bit too watered down and diluted as a term when you're talking about establishing a relationship with a new family. It's really just about listening and observing their home and their country. To that point, Kara, I wanted to ask you as a clinician, and you've already alluded to some of them, but what are the first few questions that you ask a new family? And then also, what kinds of questions do you wish the family would ask of you so that you can sort of build that relationship?
Some of my first questions going into all of my evals is kind of one, do you know what OT is? Because
Yeah.
if we start an eval and I'm asking all these questions, but you don't know what my role is, then I need to help you get familiarized with why I'm there. What is my goal and role in your child's therapy and healthcare. Um, and then I always ask, like Michael said, always start with what's your concerns? Why are we here? What's anything that you feel like I need to know? And then I kind of go based on that. What does your daily life look like? How is your morning routine? Is your kid getting themselves ready? Are we eating? And a lot of times it is the evaluations kind of lead themselves. So I may not have a certain set of questions all in order, but whenever I hear something, I'm like, oh, let me ask about that. I ask a lot about the family setup. Do we live with grandparents? Do we live with siblings? How do we interact with our parents, with our siblings, with cousins, relatives, if they all live in the same house or close? Kind of just trying to understand their daily lives and their needs and how we interact with each other. And if we go from there, are we in school? Are we in daycare? Is that a big part of our life? How do we transition in between things? So if mom needs us to go take a bath, how do we go from playing to go to take a bath or go to eat? So really, it's a lot of questions based on what is your daily life set up and what are the concerns that you are experiencing that may be making things that we're here for. And then
Absolutely.
some of the questions I feel I feel like I wish parents would ask more, right? Am I answering that right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you are.
Okay. Um I feel like some of the things that even I catch myself going into a little bit more links to, especially with feeding, is the doing it at home or like, what can I do at home? Um, and I
Hmm.
try to help educate as much as I can. Like, we can do it here, great, but especially with feeding, I feel like it's hard to really um, have a huge difference super quick as if we're doing 45 minutes here in the clinic. But I would love to have parents like do 10 minutes at home a day of like just getting used to seeing foods, because I feel like seeing foods is also a big aversion to a lot of kids. So getting used to seeing it or touching it or playing with it and realizing like, oh, we can play with our food, like that's fun. Like
Hmm.
there's not a whole lot of force about just eating it, but like exploring it and playing with it. Um, and I'm always open to questions. I love getting asked questions because it makes me think. And if I don't know it, then I'm going to go ask a question to get them the answer. I'm going to go look it up. So there, I don't know specifically any other questions off the top of my brain. And if somebody says something, I'll be like, oh, that was a great question to ask. But I love getting all the questions just to help understand a kid because that helps me also think about it if I wasn't already thinking about it or going to learn more about something that may help this kid.
Well, that's very open-minded, like that's very person-centered, family-centered. And believe it or not, Kara, I think this comes second nature to you. I know it comes second nature to you, but that is not completely normal. Like a lot of people are not wired that way. And you get people who, if they can't answer a question, well, then that was a stupid question to ask me. And that sort of, I think, again, society makes us feel as though we can't be wrong or we can't know an answer and we can't have to go ask somebody else. So that's That's genuinely a beautiful, beautiful skill and character trait of both the therapist, but also, I say this a lot, just a human being. Kara as a human, not as a therapist. Those are awesome things.
Yeah, Kara, we've spoken just briefly one other time, and I think that that theme came up then too, and the fact that you mentioned it again, just so reinforces that is truly who you are. That is just something that you do, that you don't have to think about or go down a list or remember to ask or remember to do. That is just part of your excellence and clinical skills and compassion. So I just want to let you know that I noticed it, and I wanted to just say, like, wow, kudos to you for having that be such a natural part of who you are.
Thank you. I definitely do feel like sometimes I ask way too many questions, but
That's a healthy thing, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't hear it from anybody else, hear it from Janice and I. That's a healthy thing. You really can't ask too many questions. Just allowing people to express themselves and learn them. You can't help a kid if you don't understand their family, if you don't know why
Mhm.
they're here, and if you don't know what makes them tick, if you don't know their home and their country. Ding,
That's
ding,
right.
ding. There we
I
go.
think a lot of parents are also like, they want to talk about these things, but they're not sure who to talk to about these things, because it's loaded. When you have a kid that engages in some of these behaviors, I can only imagine some of the emotions that come up for the families. And so to
Mm.
have a clinician who's there to help, want to know and want to ask and want to hear, because if you're calm about it, then they're gonna maybe think differently about what they might suggest. But if you're really concerned and animated and upset about it, that's also gonna maybe change some of the recommendations that you might make or the conversation. So I think having talking with the family and listening for what they're saying, on the surface and between the lines, I guess, or underneath, is such a I don't know the words I want to say, but such a profound skill to have as a clinician. Those communication skills are, I don't know what's more than essential or more than mandatory, but it's elementary. Like, it should be there nonetheless at baseline, and you have that. And I'm just so pleased to hear you talk about it the way that you did.
Kara, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us, guys. Janice or Kara, unless you guys have anything else that you want to touch on, I have to be the bad guy again and start to wrap us up. Um, as I think,
Yeah.
Janice, we've said almost well, not almost every episode, man, we need more time. Man, we need
I
another.
know, I know, I know.
Um, Same applies here, but Kara, genuinely, thank you so much
Yes.
on behalf of Janice and I. Um, we've learned a lot from you, and I believe that anybody who hears this conversation is going to learn a lot, and that's what we want. So, guys, thank you again for joining us on the Autism Exchange podcast. We want to communicate and collaborate. We want to demonstrate and have conversations for parents and for professionals. This is real talk that is really relatable. Look us up on Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Search for the Autism Exchange podcast. Please like and subscribe. Our
Yes.
only motivation is to grow so that we can help reach more people. For Janice Krempa, I'm Michael Coldiron. Thank you for joining us again on the Autism Exchange podcast.
Bye. See you next time.
I'm going for a McPickle.
Michael, that was so great. I had so much fun. I can't believe I talked about bunny slippers, but it's
Hey,
good.
send me the link. I'll buy some. You know I
Oh
will.
my
Kara,
goodness.
do you want some?
I do actually. Can we all match?
Let's do it. We'll match.
Oh my god, I'm gonna message you tonight.
I mean, unapologetically me. I'll wear them. You know.
That's great. Bye, guys.
All right. See you next time.